Greetings, Crusaders. It is I, Marshall Beaumont, and, well, okay. I can admit when I'm wrong, because, turns out Games Workshop put out a teaser today. That teaser is for, well, it's the Horus Heresy 3.0. This was the, I've done a video on this previously. I'll link it down below. But the general idea is that I had been clowning on certain people who said, oh, there's going to be Horus Heresy 3.0, and it's, going to be revealed at Adepticon, blah, blah, blah. Female Custodes in a launch box. And I was like, okay, that didn't happen. Well, today they GW dropped the teaser for Horus Heresy 3.0. I mean, let's be real. Yes, this is a very tongue-in-cheek, tongue-in-cheek, self-satirical joke page, but let's be honest with ourselves. That's how Games Workshop generally reveals big new things ahead of time. So yeah, this is most likely real. An immediate thing to point out is Games Workshop is no longer hyping up releases on Twitter. I will get to that in a little bit, but the general things they've shown on this preview site, which is the HorusHeresy.com, it's all Space Marine related. This flies in the face of previous rumors about a Custodes launch box. From what I've heard, the rumors flying around is that it is Salamanders and Iron Warriors this go around for Horus Heresy. And the site itself, sort of soft confirms this, as it directly mentions Salamanders. Another supposed thing that's being revealed is going to be what's it called? The Saturnine Terminator armor and a new Dreadnought pattern, and they basically confirm that as well in the second image. I would also say the Stomp, maybe a cheeky TTS reference, because the whole Vulcan lives meme. But yeah, it's looking like this launch box will not be Custodes. It's going to involve Space Marines, which I'm going to be honest, just makes sense. There's no way Games Workshop is releasing a Horus Heresy launch box without it being Space Marines. That would just be, loyals versus traitors. That's the core of what Horus Heresy is all about. Everything else is a side faction. Now, addressing, previous... Oh, no, not just yet. I almost forgot. Yeah. Rumors of a rules overhaul. Like how drastic one, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. The absolute farthest they could go though is to essentially make a 10th edition style system for Horus Heresy. I don't know how that would go over with people, especially Horus Heresy players, but the cynic in me could see Games Workshop doing it just because it justify the purchase of entirely new books and also allow them to shovel a bunch of Legends options for Horus Heresy, fully into the sunset. Like the things like the Imperial and Traitor Militia, the Demons of the Ruin Storm, unless they plan to completely revamp those. I mean, I could see them doing that. I personally predict that for Old World, Games Workshop is probably going to bring back the armies they said they wouldn't, just for the sheer fact that Old World is so popular. More popular than AOS by far. Could I see them doing that for Horus Heresy? Potentially. But I do see them forever shelving their Horus Heresy Legends options and using this, the 3.0, as an opportunity to do it. Will it be will it be a 10th edition style system? I don't know. But I think the overhaul itself might be drastic. That's my personal prediction. But now, addressing previous things I brought up, that was the rumors that the launch box will be a Custodes box. Now, that is obviously not happening, as we said. They're directly saying, Salamanders, Space Marine Dreadnoughts. This is not Custodes. But to address my own, criticisms and predictions from prior videos, what if they did a Custodes release? Like a Custodes line refresh? What do I think that would be? Well, what I think that would be is an overhaul of the Resin minis, specifically. There is a lot of resin in the Custodes line for basic infantry. And at the current juncture for Horus Heresy, they are they're trying their best to replace Resin for everything except special characters and Legion specific items. So I genuinely believe that the Venatari, the Grafalcan bikes, and the Terminator pattern. I think this is a Laris pattern. No, it's Aquilon pattern. My bad. The Aquilon pattern Terminators, as well as the upgrade kits for Heresy Custodes, which gives them a Drathic, Melta, a Drathic and Melta spears, along with their bolter infantry. I believe those would become plastic. I do not believe they would redo the basic Custodes minis. They're relatively too new for that, being from just before the launch of 8th edition. I believe they would generally do with what they've done so far with older Space Marine kits from Horus Heresy. Your Mark V, your previously Mark III armor kits, where the new upgrade kits are just compatible with the old Custodes minis. That's genuinely what I believe they would do. And of course, it goes without saying, the dreadnoughts, the tanks, etc. would get a release. But what I do think is due for entirely brand new releases in this regard are Sisters of Silence. Sisters of Silence are, let's be real here, there's not much to them, even in Horus Heresy, but Horus Heresy 2.0 introduced a bunch of new Sisters kits with a bunch of new options that simply don't exist. And this was in a main rulebook. The only Sisters kits available are the base Sisters kits, which, builds, the Bolter, Flamer, and Greatsword infantry, which are also available in 40k, in the Custodes Codex, along with the, I think they're called Pursuers. I don't quite remember the name. They're the dual-wielding bolt pistol infantry, and the Charon pattern Acquisitor, which is the Sisters of Silence tank. Like, this is the, other than HQs and special characters, which, obviously I'm not listing here, this is basically the sum total of the Sisters of Silence model line, and it so grossly misrepresents the actual range of model options they have in Horus Heresy right now, or rather, unit options. I think if we're going to see a major release for Custodes, it will be plastic versions of the existing Resin infantry and upgrade kits, and I believe Sisters will get a lot of new brand new plastic infantry. That is what I see happening, because Games Workshop tends to have the rule that if it has rules, it must have a kit. If it has like non-Legends rules. So Sisters need a massive overhaul. I believe if we see a new a complete model line revamp in 3.0, like we saw with AdMech, I believe it will be focused instead on the Sisters of Silence with a little bit of Custodes, just for their vehicles and their Resin infantry. Now, those are generally my predictions in this matter. When it comes to whether we're getting female Custodes, as I've said before, I genuinely don't believe that. I think Games Workshop was burned one too many times by the whole thing. But I mean, hey, I will say this immediately. I said after that first video I said after that most recent video that if Games Workshop, decides to do it anyway, I mean, that's their mistake to make. That's their mistake to make. Could they still do it? Possibly. I will definitely criticize them for doing it, but ultimately, I don't control what they release. But, I will make predictions based on what I believe is possible. And the general possibility is shown right now. Games Workshop is, not willing to continue the female Custodes concept based on the backlash. As for where this could trend with other games, I'd previously been under the impression, and this is based on, Games Workshop's wording, that Horus Heresy would not be getting regular new editions. Now, obviously, they are. Because, I mean, as you can see, they've just straight up teased one. How could this reflect on other games? Well, specifically, I think if it's going to reflect on any game, it's going to be the old world. This means that the option is now there for the old world to get new editions. What do I think the old world would get in a new edition? Other than, rules revamps. Obviously, the rules revamps would have to be a lot different because it is a much different game in terms of like unit organization than Warhammer 40K. I would say it puts the option on the table for the Legends of the Old World army lists to get proper armies and proper releases, proper, books with their rules. This is something I predicted Games Workshop would do, and it's something I believe they are realizing they should do, simply based on the fact that, a lot of Age of Sigmar sales are to prop up gaps in model ranges for those armies, which are still popular with Warhammer Fantasy Battle fans. The demand is clearly there, and Games Workshop will genuinely go for what they believe will make them money, and in this case, that is releasing those armies for the old world. That is my prediction, and, this has just been the general news roundup. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. Games Workshop could fuck it up, of course, but I'm glad to see they're committing to Horus Heresy, and I'm glad to see they're releasing new things, like brand new things for Horus Heresy, and not just revamping old models. They're committing to actually giving this game a long lifespan, even though the novel series itself is over. So, with all that said, I'm Marshall Beaumont. I hope you all have a good day. Take care, everyone, and later.